a great tomato tart with a topping of cheese and confit tomatoes, a little bit of thyme and some roasted garlic. A savory, gorgeous tart. This is a great crust. It's very similar to the pâte brisée, but I'm adding an egg to it, a whole egg, and a little less water. So it's 2 cups of flour, all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of sugar, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and just mix this up. We're using the food processor again, which makes the pastry so quickly. 1 stick of unsalted butter, which is 1/4 pound, and it is cold. All the ingredients are cold, the flour, the sugar, the butter. And now cut this in. And now we're going to add 1 egg. I'm going to just mix that egg up before I add it into the dry ingredients. Now blend that in and add anywhere between 2 and 3 tablespoons of iced water. Try not to get any ice in your pastry. Now wrap this in plastic wrap. This dough gets chilled for at least a half an hour before you use it. While my crust for the tomato tart chills, I am going to prepare the tomatoes. Now, you can use sliced tomatoes and cheese, but we're doing something a little bit differently. We're going to confit the tomatoes. And so I am peeling first and then seeding the tomatoes. I make a little X in the bottom of the tomato. I immerse the tomato into boiling water. I have a big bowl of iced water right here, and it's like 30 seconds they stay immersed in the boiling water. And you just look to see when they peel. Oh, there, that one started to peel. See that? Now just put that into the cold water. This is the way you can peel dozens and dozens of tomatoes for canning. There, and let this just chill and put them into a bowl. This is the fastest way I've found to peel the tomatoes. And now to seed, just once you get the tomato peel off, see how easily it comes off? You want to then cut this part of the tomato off, and there are the cavities with all the seeds. And I just squeeze. Now onto parchment goes the peeled tomato. And these are already prepared. Now, another thing that we want to put into this tart is roasted garlic. An effective way to roast garlic is to encase it in a little parchment package with a little bit of salt, olive oil, and just make a little package like that. The garlic will steam and roast. That's going to go into the oven at the same time as the tomatoes. And we just want to put a little olive oil on each tomato, sprinkle with salt and pepper, fresh thyme from the garden, and have your oven preheated to 275 degrees. Cook these very, very slowly. When they come out, they're going to look like this. They do shrink, and they are now the essence of tomato. That is exactly what you're looking for. Now, we're going to roll out our pastry to fit this removable bottom tart pan, those black steel. I love those, and I've always used those. Flour your surface very well. We're going to blind bake. Now, blind baking means that you are going to basically cook in the oven an empty tart shell. Flour your rolling pin, and you want to make sure that you roll it out without any cracks. Now, spray your pan just very lightly so that the ultimate tart will come right out of the pan. And then gently release your pastry into the pan. That is a nice looking crust. Now, to reinforce the sides of your tart shell, fold the dough down, making the sides a little bit thicker. This really does help remove the shell when it's baked from the pan, and it also holds the filling in very nicely. You can very quickly just use your rolling pin and go like this and take off all the pastry with your rolling pin. So now I'm going to dock with a fork. This will prevent the crust from bubbling up. You won't be able to fill it if that happens. And then line it with a piece of parchment paper. And you fill it with beans or nuts or clay weights, whatever you have. These are my lentils that are about 10 years old. And I use these for all my crust. And press this down into the shell. Now get this right into a 425-degree oven and check it after 10 minutes. Then you remove the lentils and let it brown in the oven. It's going to be a beautiful crust. After about 15 minutes, the pie crust has browned. So now here is your roasted garlic. Look how easily it slides out of its casings. So 1 head of garlic or 1.5 heads per tart. And you spread this with an offset spatula all over the bottom so everybody will get a little bit of this extraordinary flavor. There, okay. Now, a little sprinkling of cheese. Now here we're using Comte cheese, C-O-M-T-E. It is a semi-hard cheese, kind of like a Gruyere, and a little bit of thyme. And we're going to put a little bit in the bottom like that. And now place the tomatoes. These have cooled. And you just pick them up with a spatula and start squishing them in place very tightly. Kind of looks like a beautiful flower. So for each 11-inch tart, you're going to need 24 of these oven-dried tomatoes. Okay, now a little bit more salt, not too much, and a little bit more pepper, not too much, and more cheese. And we grated 10 ounces of the Comte cheese, and I'm going to use it all. And this is going to bake in a 375-degree oven until the cheese is melted. And serve hot. It's a great tart.